everyone, and welcome back to the Cluttered and Eclectic Comic Vault. I am Captain Logan.
And I'm Eric.
And Eric and I have a slew of other things to review for you. We just did some Tom King last video. Now we are back in the vault. We opened it up. We walked out for a minute. We got a bite to eat. We came back in the vault, Eric, and it is now time. We didn't actually eat anything. It is now time for us to each go back and forth and talk about some other things that we read separately by ourselves alone. Eric, I read, per Ian McKee's request, a book that I had never heard of called JSA: The Golden Age. And when he told me about this, I was like, oh, I gotta read all of Golden Age Justice Society. It was like a big hard. I thought it was gonna be like this big book with all the Justice Society.
I mean, they have put out like the big soft covers that are like the first like year of, or like it goes by years or whatever.
Oh really?
For Gold, yeah. I actually really want to get the Golden Age Batman one.
This came out in, what was it?
And you've got the Wonder Woman one. You put in my room.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That's Golden Age.
And I think he also sent me that, if memory serves. I think it was Ian that sent me that.
I am gonna look to that.
Yeah, I am too. But Eric's gonna review some Wonder Woman today. He's been on a Wonder Woman kick and read quite a bit. And I read other things. I want to read some of that Wonder Woman stuff, but I read other things. Anyway, and this was written by James Robinson with art by Paul Smith. I really like the art in this quite a bit. This book is kind of another of these like serious reimaginings that kind of cleverly gives, I don't want to say real world, but like more like flawed human explanations for things that happen in both comic history and like real history. So it gives like comic book explanations for things that happen in World War II and after, and then it gives more like I said, like flawed human explanations for things that the Golden Age characters do getting into the Silver Age. The whole point of this is like a serious, violent, like transformation period from the Golden Age, which is the black and white era of World War II, going into the more gray area, morally, bereft or just morally ambiguous period of the Silver Age, at least according to this. And like, I don't look back at the Silver Age and think, well, the Silver Age was like, all that much more gritty and stuff than the Golden Age.
No, it's less gritty.
But this, and when you get to the end of this book, it kind of establishes in the last page like a bunch of characters in the Silver Age, and they all kind of look on the page like they're trying to look and pretend to be like stalwart and benign and altruistic and all of that, but I guess the idea is that it's just the like gritty, rough like underbelly of everything that's really going on, behind the scenes. So it's not like the Golden Age was perfect and then magically, because the war's over, things get less perfect, but it was easier to pretend that, I guess, within the context of the narrative. This is obviously influenced a lot by Watchmen, I would say.
And it sounds a lot like New Frontier.
Yeah, it is quite a bit like New Frontier, except that I think a lot of these characters are even more tragic and some of them kind of more messed up and twisted than that. I like this. I think this is a really flawed book. I kind of wish you'd had a chance to read it. This is the thing I'd like to talk to you
dense.
About at some point. It is really dense. Like I said, I like this. I didn't love this. I like a lot of ideas in it, and I think I liked. By the time I got to the end of it, I think I appreciated it's like the notions and the tragedy of some of these characters more than I actually enjoyed reading it. Some of the problem for me is just I'm not real familiar with a lot of the Justice Society, and I think there's almost a prerequisite for this book. I think if you are familiar with these guys, it's like New Frontier. It's like you're taking characters that were one-dimensional and kind of perfect and adding layers to them. Mm-hmm. And this is my introduction to too many characters. So like this book was not for me because I don't get that extra layering on top of people. It's like I'm not familiar with Hourman. I don't know anything about Hourman. I don't know what he's like, and so now the only Hourman I know is the guy that's in this book, I'm not familiar with the first Green Lantern. I don't know anything about that guy.
Actually, a little bit about Scott.
And this book didn't, and he's kind of our.
Is he in Gotham in that book?
Yes.
Because that's the thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't know that. Yeah, he is in Gotham in this book.
I don't know where
that's
that
cool.
comes
Good to know.
from, but that's actually
Is that where
nice.
Gotham is introduced, or is
That's not possible.
I mean,
because
surely
Batman
not.
Predates. But yeah, at some point post-crisis, we established that Alan Scott used to.
I was just
be
momentarily. I was like, "Am I remembering Batman wrong? Does Batman not start with Gotham?" Pretty sure he did.
No, but if you recall in Hush, there's a point where Tommy and Bruce go to Gotham. They go into the city and they see Alan Scott fly by.
Yeah.
Alan Scott used to protect Gotham. That might be where that comes from. I don't know.
But yeah, the Robinson's prose is overwritten, and that kept taking me out of it. And I mean, like, to be fair, I think more is overwritten in Watchmen also.
Sure.
But it at least doesn't have a constant running third-person omniscient monologue on top of internal monologue. That kept taking me out and was really intrusive. So we're not using the thought balloons, and it makes a lot of sense in a more serious, gritty thing that you would use like modern conventions to tell an older story, and that's what we're doing here. So it's good that we're getting away from thought balloons, and even in '93 we're doing a lot of that. I mean, you had that in Death of Superman and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But this
it dies somewhere in the '90s.
Yeah, for the most part. This goes back to something more like the Watchmen aesthetic for that, but I think it's weird that we're constantly jumping in and out of people's heads in internal monologue, and you also have this third-person omniscient narrator that also jumps in and out of people's heads. It was just too many narrators. I don't know what that's about. And sometimes I couldn't tell. Like it was hard to keep track of who was talking. Also, it does the thing that irritates you, where there's a lot of cursive. And there's different scripts of cursive.
I hate that.
And I know you don't like it. It's not the easiest thing to read. And so that's in this quite. That's over.
Good Lord! Did you see all that dialogue? I mean, you probably read it. Where was it?
I sure did.
It was just.
Oh yeah.
God, it's just. That's like some Claremont stuff right there.
Yeah. No. It's bizarre. Yeah. That is. But that guy's really interesting. That's Captain Triumph, who I was not familiar with. Yeah. There's this guy named Lance. And he used to combine with another guy to become Captain Triumph. I guess kind of like a Firestorm or something.
Oh, sure.
But I don't know what Captain Triumph is actually like, because I don't think he ever turns. Maybe he turns into him by the end. But anyway, his partner that he turns into Captain Triumph with has died and is now a spirit that haunts him. And is constantly following him around, trying to get him to touch a magic mark on him that would turn them into Captain Triumph again. And that whole thing is horrifying, because I'm just imagining this guy trying to live a normal life, and the spirit constantly following him around, bothering him, telling him how horrible he is for not letting him live again. That's one of the subplots that I liked the most. But anyway, it's too many characters that you're like jumping back and forth between before the subplots finally converge, and I got kind of lost in the middle of it, and it wasn't until the third, I guess what is effectively the third act, where I really got into it, and that's kind of my main beef with it, is it just takes too long before I'm really intrigued enough, and really into this idea. But basically the main crux of the story is you have a old superhero named Americommando, who I also was not familiar with.
That's a real silly name.
Americommando. I think he was also like Mr. America or something. Like, he had a couple names. And
Mr. America sounds familiar.
Americommando. And
it just rolls off the tongue.
It does. And he is kind of like the only superhero left around that the government is supporting. And it's not like Watchmen, where superheroes are no longer allowed to be around. But after the war, they just all kind of got tired of being superheroes, and it was because they weren't allowed to really do their jobs during the war. And I like that a lot. I like that we have this cool narrative reason for why superheroes did what they did in the Golden Age, where they're around, but they're like fighting domestically, and they're not able to actually stop the war. And this gives us a narrative reason for it. And the government's public line on it is that Hitler has the Spear of Destiny, and that prevents the superheroes' Spear of Destiny, and that stops the superheroes from being able to go up against him. But in reality, there was a German superhero that fought for Hitler, whose power was negating the powers of every other superhero. That's the real reason. And so they couldn't go up against him.
How does one discover that they have such a power?
I don't know! It's like Cable. I don't know how he ever figures out he can do that. So anyway, so that's the reason for that. You also have Starman, who is probably the most tragic character and is like really screwed up in the head, who like by day is always berating himself and feeling guilty for helping to cause the nuclear bomb. He was involved in that, and then at night he has this thing that happens to him where he cannot stop working, and he just like suddenly comes alive and starts working on things, and his psychology is really interesting. But
I think some of that's insane, man. Or I mean, sorry, in
Starman. But and I wondered how much of the psychologies of these characters was influenced by later things that had been done with them, or even things that he got from the Golden Age. I just didn't feel like...
Well, because he is the writer of Starman. I think he does that after this book.
Oh, sure.
So that might be the beginnings of...
I just wasn't informed enough to read this. I feel weird reviewing it because I just don't feel like I know enough, So I'm just talking about what I read here, but I know that this is probably more appealing and more interesting to people that are already familiar with this.
And there is a whole contingent of people that are like big JSA people.
Yeah, sure.
You and I just are not those people.
And
but I think Duke loves JSA.
I like that you brought up New Frontier because it reads like that for this, except I mean New Frontier is pretty violent. This is also pretty rough. But
would you rank this about the same, or is New Frontier significantly better?
Way better, I think.
I've never read New Frontier, so.
But again, this is on just a first read and kind of a clunky read for me. But you have scary characters in this like Robot Man, who I wish we got a little bit more with. Who everyone.
Robot Man? Big orange robot guy?
No, it's he's like metallic colored.
Oh, interesting.
But he's talked about, so you have like the public perception of all these characters, and then you have what they're actually like. So everybody thinks that Robot Man is kind of like Data, where he's like a machine that wants to be human, and that the emphasis is on the man over the robot, but like he's completely cold and emotionless, and he ends up kind of being the muscle for the bad guy, and I like that some of these superheroes that are not really altruistic are able to use that public perception against people because everyone's just kind of too innocent in their thought process. And anyway, so you have, like I said, Americommando, who is who becomes a senator, and he's trying to vie for president, but nobody knows about it yet. And he is trying to create a new superhero in order to get people interested in his bid for president, so it's all like this political thing. And I don't know if this is a misstep or not. I don't want to give too much away about this, because I'm sure most people haven't even heard of this. So I won't give away the big reveal at the end that is the thing that suddenly got me like really kind of into this book. All I'll say is America Commando is not what he seems, and he's not who we think he is. And I kind of think the book
the whole time.
Someone is.
Is someone Hitler the whole time?
Yep, someone is.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so we just gave it away.
This book sounds like so much fun. I thought it was like the most ridiculous thing.
No, that's what it is, and it's kind of great because the idea ultimately seems to be like the real world is shades of gray. The real world, there's not always a right answer, but evil is still evil. So like even though we think we beat evil, and now it feels like there's just moral ambiguity and there's nothing else, that's not really true. Good is still good, and evil is still evil, and it's not always easy to tell the difference, but maybe you can take comfort in that when you can find it. That's kind of what I got from this.
Okay.
But anyway, so I won't give away anything else about what's going on with the end of that.
Can I just guess things?
Yeah, you can just guess stuff and then figure it out. But yeah, the most like Golden Age stalwart altruistic type character in this is Green Lantern, Alan Scott, and it's really sad when he puts his ring away. Although I don't know. I don't know why he chooses the moment he does it, except to be dramatic, because like a page before, we get a line about how he's put his ring away, and he's wearing it, and then we see him put it away, and I don't know what that's about. But it's, I don't know, it's real heartbreaking in the moment, but all of these, really flawed characters that are having a hard time living in the real world, there's some PTSD type stuff, I guess. They all ultimately end up coming back together to stop the threat that Eric managed to identify for you. It's not America Commando. I can't say it now. It's not America. I can't say it. America Commando. It's not him. It's he actually
Is
turns.
the president? Is the president Hitler the whole time?
No, it's the superhero he creates.
Okay.
But the it's a body jumping thing.
Okay. It's not like he pulls off his face. He's like,
no, it's a body jumping
I am
thing.
Hitler.
Anyway, this is a really heavy book. If I gave it another read, it would be an interesting thing to analyze. But but like I said, I do think it's a little bit overwritten, and it was hard to dive into because of my lack of knowledge of these
looks like
characters.
a hard book to get into.
Yeah, it really was. That's my review. But I do think at the end of it, like, it's good. Like
I've always heard good things about it.
I question that reveal because I kind of think it might have been more interesting if America Commando were was like a superhero that was corrupted, as opposed to he was replaced. I think that might have been a little bit more interesting, but also that's not the story that they're telling, because it actually isn't the Shades of Grey thing. So now that I'm saying that, I'm like, but that negates the whole point of the book, so I guess not. That's a thing I guess I've not seen a whole lot of, right? Where it's like, no, there are different sides to people, and they are flawed, but evil is still evil. Like, I really like that. It's kind of the antithesis to more, if you think about it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call this the anti-Watchmen, but it's not about as many things as Watchmen is, I don't think. But anyway. Well, do you want to talk about some Wonder Woman?
Sure.
You can pick whichever book you want to start with.
I will start with Earth 1.
Okay.
Because that's where this all began.
Sure.
I decided to reread Wonder Woman Earth 1. So I read Wonder Woman Earth 1 when it came out.
I did
Volume
too.
2 comes out next month after that, something like that.
I would have liked to have read that with you. I just didn't have time.
And I did not care for it. I didn't hate it, but I didn't care for it. And so I reread it. I will be willing to admit to the entire public that I definitely went into this book looking to be offended. I went in this book looking to be proven wrong about Wonder Woman, and the first time, not this time. When I originally read this, I was like, well, maybe Morrison can finally fix this character. Maybe Morrison can finally make me like this character. And I read it, and I was like, nah, it's still got the same stuff I don't like about the animated movie and every other iteration I've ever seen of Wonder Woman. Rereading it, I was definitely looking to be offended. There are things where I'm like, okay, well, there's a greater context around this. Like, I was getting annoyed at certain lines. I think that what Morrison does with this...
Do you mean, like, politically, or just...
I thought it hated men, because a lot of Wonder Woman things that I've read and seen feel like they're real judgmental, where, like, Wonder Woman shows up, and it's like, yeah, men ruin everything. And I'm a man, and so I'm a little bothered by that.
Sure, yeah.
And so there are
it's more complicated than that.
Yeah. And so there are things in this book that I read as, oh, I guess we just all suck. We just ruin everything. Like, and it's not that.
Yeah.
Even in the piece, it's more nuanced than that, which is one of the major reasons I didn't get to it. But I want to go back to the Wonder Woman animated film, because that was an issue I had. The Wonder Woman animated film.
And of course, I love that movie.
Yeah.
And I would be really curious to see if your feelings have changed on it.
So what
and
Morrison...
that special edition came out. I got that.
Yeah, and there's lots of special features that I'll watch.
Yep.
Because I care about Wonder Woman now.
Why I say special edition? They didn't change anything with it.
I mean, it's still a special edition. It's not a Star Wars special edition.
Right, that's why I said that.
So, what Morrison does with this is really interesting. It's an interesting experiment, and I'll be interested to see how Volumes 2 and 3 play out. Morrison conceptualized this as being a female adventure, meaning that we are saying that things like violence and fighting are that's what men want in their fiction. So it is not an action-adventure story. It is something else. He said when he was originally writing, he was building this big climax, they're going to have a big fight, and he goes, well, that's what would happen in a male-driven story, or a story written for men. This is not going to be that. There is no fighting in this. There's like maybe a scene where Wonder Woman lifts up like a tank, and is like, look, I'm strong. Like, there's no fighting in this. And he said that there's no fighting in the second book either. And conceptually, when I first read this, I had a major issue with that. Just like, what is the point of having someone with superpowers if they're not going to fight anyone?
Yeah, sure.
And then, reading this, I was like, oh, it's,
And you have to, like, contrive situations where violence is never necessary.
And I'll be interested to see if he deals with that.
Okay.
Because as it is in this book, it's very much just like, she's stronger than them, so she doesn't have to fight. And things like that.
Sure.
Like, she's able to demonstrate her strength but not hurt anybody.
Well, and sometimes I think Superman throws punches when he doesn't have to.
Yeah,
Just to get action on the page, right?
My take on Morrison's Wonder Woman is, I don't want to say Jesus, but that idea of, like, the powerful person of peace.
And she's kind of just walking around proselytizing? Is it that much Jesus?
I mean, I think it could get there.
Okay.
I think it could get
there. I
there.
don't remember that from that book, but...
Not in this, but that it's a figure who shows up that has different ideas and is more powerful than everyone around her. But
she lives among them?
Yeah, or she's going to, because that's the end of this book, is she's going to go live in
That's right, I remember that.
Also, Themyscira's not the best place, which I think is interesting because Morrison's whole thing is that Themyscira is supposed to be a potential feminist alternative to the world. The idea that if you had all of these people over here that weren't warring with each other, they would advance beyond us technologically and philosophically.
Yeah.
Where that breaks down is they have not advanced beyond us philosophically. One of the biggest mistakes I think he makes is that Wonder Woman kind of has a girlfriend. She has a lover on Paradise Island. And she is immediately, like, it's like that romantic comedy thing. Like, immediately she's like, kill the man! Like, just gets really violent and, like, in Wonder Woman's face and is like, everything the opposite of that character, and like I'm like, why would Diana be with this person? Like, I don't buy that this person would be with someone so hate-filled. It's very strange.
But is everyone there except for her like that?
Kind of. At least when it comes to dealing with the outside world, she seems to be the only person that has an open mind, which is interesting because...
But that would explain it, right?
Yeah, but that one in particular seems like really, like, violent.
Oh, okay.
Where, like, everyone else, like Wonder Woman's mom doesn't seem like she wants to kill Steve Trevor because no man's allowed on the island, and she does some drastic things. I don't know. It just seemed different. Like it felt really
She's not
weird.
reveling in it.
Yeah, it felt really weird to me that Wonder Woman's lover like is immediately the first person that like wants to like just murder everyone. Like she's the person who, if this was a different movie, is yelling to launch the nukes. Like,
yeah,
right? Like she's that. Which I guess is part of what I think is interesting theoretically. Again, this is like the other Earth ones. This is part one of at least 3 books. What it seems to be is that Themyscira is not that much better than us. They're different, and they're more technologically advanced because they haven't had to deal with warfare. But it's Diana that is the special one. Yeah. She is the one who will bring the light to the world. And I think that's really interesting. And I'm really interested to see the second and third books of this. I also want to note, because I'm going to mention this in a second with the... Not in a second, because I think we're going to jump over you. But I'm going to mention when I talk about the Greg Rucka stuff is... So there's a couple of things that like everyone makes fun of with the Wonder Woman origin and we just didn't have in the movie.
Yeah.
And Rucka and Morrison deal with them differently. So...
One of them is the plane, right?
One of them's the plane. So one of the big things that everyone makes fun of with Wonder Woman's origin is, why does she already have, like, a military jet plane that's invisible? And in this, it's not a plane. It is it's just a flying craft. It doesn't look like it's a science fiction thing. It's also not phallic like a plane, which was really interesting, design-wise. But she also... the other one is the bullets and bracelets, which... I'm just trying to find a picture of the plane, I can't find it. They look like this. They look like seashells.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah. But very not, a missile shape.
Mm-hmm.
So the other one is bullets and bracelets, which everyone's like, well, how do they have bullets if they don't know what's on man's world?
Yeah.
In this, it's lasers. They shoot lasers.
Oh, okay.
And she does lasers.
Lasers and bracelets.
Yeah, lasers and bracelets. I found this kind of fascinating. Going back to
Now,
it,
that's a world where Cable would find out what his power was.
I also really like a lot of the air tastes weird, food tastes weird, that kind of a thing.
Sure.
There's this thing that Wonder Woman has that apparently comes from the original comics.
Like culture shock.
Yeah. Kind of like the reverse of how you've talked to me about
11/22.
Yeah. 68?
63.
63.
Yeah.
But so there's this like purple energy thing that seems to be like part technology and part like musical instrument. It's very strange. Where like it heals you, but you have to like play it, and like some people are better at it than other people, and like Diana's the best. This is Diana as a healer, right? Like that's what it is. It's Diana as the like grand healer of the world. That's how she wants to be. We'll see if she gets there in the second, third book.
Sure.
But this is not Wonder Woman the warrior. This is Wonder Woman as a healer, like underlined like healer. She literally is the best with the healing technology. But she brings the technology to man's world, and it doesn't work, and she's confused. She's also confused by the fact that we don't have it. Like, why are you stabbing into people? Just blast them with this purple
She's
energy.
McCoy in Star Trek 4.
Yeah, exactly. And then she realizes that our biology is different, and she has to like recalibrate and just do it differently. I thought that was really interesting. That like they're secluded, and like because of society, we've kind of evolved slightly differently, and also they're immortal. But that like because of pollution and what we've done to food and like all this, we have altered our chemical makeup that their healing rays don't work on us. She has to do it differently.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of really fascinating ideas in this. I think it's very hard to talk about as a piece because it is very much a first act of a larger story.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I mean, I don't think this is a Wonder Woman I would want to read on a monthly basis. I don't want to read a comic book with no fighting as a potential alternative, as a potential.
Well, that was the point of these.
Right? Yeah. As a, not even like an ultimate, but just like here's a different way of looking at it. Because Morrison's whole big thing was basically he wanted to ignore everything that happened with that character, except for what the original writer did.
Well, I would make the argument that all the Earth 1 books that we've read, because we haven't read Teen Titans.
We haven't read Teen Titans.
All the Earth
or
1
Green
books, that we've read, have done that, where it's not only an alternate take, but it's a thing that I don't think would work month to month. Like, they're all graphic novels.
Well, I mean, you could pick up if those first
Superman
3 graphic novels.
keep going.
Yeah. If
And
those
maybe-
first 3 graphic novels have been the beginning of 52.
And maybe Batman, too. I don't know.
We'd have to see where he goes.
Yeah.
He's doing Batman does a lot of like different for different sake things.
No, you're right. You could take that character at the end of Earth 1 and with Superman and just keep going with him. I guess. That's true.
And maybe
But
at the end of
those
this.
stories needed to be graphic novels.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
I wouldn't want to see those broken up in any way.
Yeah. But yeah, so I thought this was interesting. I just, for no reason, like out of nowhere, was like, I kind of want to read some Wonder Woman. I have some Wonder Woman. I'll grab it, and this was the first one I read, so I did this one
Yeah,
first.
you went back and watched the movie again too.
I did rewatch the film, and I wanted to rewatch the animated film, but I did not have time.
We should try to both revisit that. I think that would be interesting.
The animated film?
Because I've not seen it since I reviewed it. I mean, it's been 5 or 6 years.
Do you have anything else? Because
Yeah,
my Wonder
please.
Woman is kind of going to be in 2 more chunks.
Yeah, I'm trying to decide if I want to talk about the Ghostbusters thing or not, because I don't want to get the physical copies.
Okay. Oh,
and
yeah.
talk about that.
I forgot about that. Oh, I was really interested to hear about that.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and talk about that a little bit then.
Okay.
So, Ghostbusters Legion is a thing that I stumbled upon online and went ahead and read.
Have you asked Vince if he knows about this?
Yes.
Because I've never heard of this.
Yeah, he had them.
He has them?
Yeah, well, and he had an interesting story about it because he pre-ordered the trade way back when.
Oh, the one that never came out.
And had to get his money back, like, 2 years
I did find
later.
out that the trade was apparently released in England.
Yeah, I read that too. Lucky dogs. I think it was hardcover, but maybe I'm wrong.
I think it was supposed to be a hardcover here, and then they got a trade.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
And it's Titan and Titans.
Anyway, so I'll explain to everybody what this is, because you didn't even know about it.
No, I had no idea.
Neither did I. So this is a thing that only exists in singles. It's called Ghostbusters Legion. It came out in 2004. It was a Canadian comic company that was really short-lived called 88 Miles Per Hour Studios, I think. And they, like I said, shut down immediately after publishing these, and they solicited the first issue of an ongoing. This miniseries, sort of like, a Man of Steel or something, like kind of establishes this world, and then you move on from there in a monthly series. It was a one-and-done story, 4 issues, and then they were going to keep going with that status quo. And they were setting up things like Janine and Egon being a couple and things like that. And they didn't do anything with Winston, really. He's kind of just there again. But, hopefully, moving forward, they would have given him things to do. I actually think, I'll talk about this, I actually think there's a thing they could have dealt with Winston, and they kind of left it on the table, which is unfortunate. But anyway, what's really interesting about this series is, and like I said, I don't have a physical copy to show you right now, but I'll put images on the screen. First of all, the art's really, really cool. I don't know, it's like Extreme Ghostbusters if it was a little more polished. Like, it's got that kind of edge to it, and it's real action oriented. It's real eye catchy. And
what you showed me, what I looked when you were talking to me about it, looks more. It doesn't look like what IDW. It doesn't look like a comedy book. It looks like an action book.
Yeah, it's an action book, and it is comedic. And those guys have. I don't have the names of those guys in front of me, but they have a. I should have written that down. They have a. The writer anyway has a really good voice for those characters, and the comedic beats are spot on. And he's got that in common with Burnham. He is faster and punchier than Burnham, I think, because Burnham's writing a comedy book. He takes his time with it more, and this guy's got to get his jokes in between the action. Like he has stuff on action pages too, and it's not like there's not some downtime, but it's a faster paced, punchier book, and it's really dynamic looking. I mean, like, one of my favorite things about it was just what it looks like. The really cool stuff with lighting, and I remember the panel layouts being pretty varied and nice. But anyway, the most interesting thing about it, story-wise, is that it takes place 6 months after the movie. They ignore 2 entirely, but the movie happened in 2003 or 2004. So, like, we changed the day entirely and updated it. And I guess we've done this with some other things. It totally
turns.
Yeah, totally works. I was really surprised by that. I had little questions, nothing major. Like, well, Vince and I had this conversation. Would the car be the same make and model? It's 20 years older.
Yeah.
When in 1984. That car is a beaten-down rust bucket. In 2003 or 4, it's a classic car now. Wouldn't it cost more? Wouldn't it be harder to get that?
Yeah.
Like, why would it be that car?
Yeah.
I had a tough time with that. It seems like, and maybe moving forward, we would have had more, like, modern-day pop culture references or things like that. We don't do a ton of that in Ghostbusters, but I think that world can have that. But the only thing that really, in the miniseries, from present day, that really informs it is cell phones. That's pretty much it. It's just, they've got cell phones now.
Sure.
That's about it.
You're going to call on your cell phone.
I think the comedic sensibilities and everything can still work in that period, which is why I didn't feel like with 2016 we had to try to update the comedy. I felt like that's universal. That's,
yeah, of course.
That's not a thing that you necessarily had to monkey with. But this does that really well. He's got a really good voice for all the characters, especially Janine. She sounds right out of that movie to me. and I was kind of impressed with that. The way Venkman insults her is exactly the same.
Is she movie one Janine?
Yeah, she's movie one Janine.
Nice.
One of the things that's weird about it is, like Dana and Venkman are dating, and like they seem to be more serious than I would think they would be. Right away. Well, maybe not. I don't know. I guess.
And that might be some of the reaction to 2, right?
Yeah, I guess in 2 the idea was they tried to get together and it didn't work, and they shut it down. There was something about their relationship that just seemed a little bit too easy and a little bit off to me. It was too stable. I didn't get the sense that, because Venkman's not any different. He treats people exactly the same, but he and Dana are like a really healthy, stable relationship. I had a tough time with that. I don't understand why Louis Tully is rich and famous now. Comes out of nowhere. It's like Ghostbusters happens, and now he's like a rich and famous person.
Did he like go on like the talk show circuit as the guy that got turned to a dog?
Maybe so. That was the only thing
they helped me.
They helped me. That was my guess. Except it seems like he's in all the like geek and nerd magazines.
It's like twice.
Oh, that's true. It's like a geek chic thing, and actually they keep using that. They keep saying, or nerd chic or whatever. They keep saying that. I guess at the end of the movie he was just on TV and people latched onto him. I needed more of an explanation than that. Like I'm not sure how he got, like, he gets really famous.
Okay.
And he just keeps throwing money at people, and it's funny, but I just don't know how we got to that status quo. The villain plot is really interesting.
Yeah, I was curious about that.
The villain plot is, and one thing, and I don't mean to throw Burnham under the bus because you know how much I love Burnham.
Yeah.
But it felt like things were at stake in a way sometimes they're not with Burnham's books.
Is it just it's not just Gozer again?
No, it's not. But they were going to do that. They were going to go back to Zool.
Okay.
Or maybe it was Gozer. No, maybe they were going to do Gozer. But I don't remember. But anyway, maybe they were just going to straight up do Gozer again. But there were solicitations for the first 3 issues. If you go on Wikipedia, you can actually read the synopses of what they would have been. Yeah, and it's really sad because they had to have had some of that drawn because they have covers. They have at least a cover for the first one.
Well, I briefly looked at stuff after you told me about this.
They look
apparently
really cool.
The 4 issues you read were super late.
Oh, really?
Like, they were, like, not a single issue came out on time, and some of them were, like, 6 months late.
Wow.
Yeah. Like, even the first issue doesn't come out on the day it's supposed to.
But yeah, I'm gonna... And I just
Which is part of why they folded.
I just couldn't get them in time for the show, but I'm gonna order them on eBay.
I want to read them when you get them.
I can get all 4 for about $15-20. It's not bad.
All right, cool.
But anyway, so the bad guy is what should have been the 4th Ghostbuster, basically. It's a guy that roomed with Ray in college, and they did science, or they did occult stuff together. I guess I should say occult stuff together, and he would have been like the 4th wheel that was more off than any of the other 3. Where he seemed like maybe slightly mentally unstable, but not so far that anybody ever said anything.
He's the kid that likes Marilyn Manson a little bit too much.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's more socially awkward than the other guys. He's kind of like an anti-Venkman in a way, where like Venkman is like socially off and like almost too social in like the wrong kind of way. This guy is. He reminds me of Dr. Doom a lot.
Okay.
Specifically Fan Stick Dr. Doom, but he's a lot like Dr. Doom. And anyway, there's like a tragic accident where they're trying to open a portal to a ghost dimension.
As you do.
Yeah, right. And he
We've all been in college.
He ends up being... Yeah, so it's a lot like Fan Stick. And he ends up...
Do they do it drunk?
No, they don't do it drunk. I thought you were going to say, do they have a stupid science fair where the teachers is not impressed with the interdimensional travel, but rather just is like, how dare you blow things up? Anyway, but he ends up like able to commune with and talk to ghosts, and he's able to like control the ghosts, and it's like a world domination plot where he can like control ghosts, and it. I don't know, weirdly, it has some similarities to the villain plot in 2016, but because he has a connection to one of the Ghostbusters, and it's kind of this like sad, tragic background with him and Ray. Like he doesn't blame Ray for the stuff that's happened, but he is kind of jealous of what Ray has now. And I guess I should mention that it's also different from Ghostbusters 2 in that they have remained successful. This is also, by the way, an explanation for why there are so many ghosts in New York.
Okay.
Which is really nice.
Okay.
Like, he brings them there. There's a reason for all the ghosts in New York. And so that helps a lot. Which I think 2016 was also kind of trying to do.
Does that put them out of work after they stop him?
No, there's... I forget what exactly it is, but there's... I mean, it's not the only reason there are ghosts there, but it's why there's kind of a big concentration and stuff. But anyway, I was going to say something about all that. I forget what it was.
Sorry.
But yeah, so like I said, it has some things in common with the bad guy plot in 2016, but it's a lot more compelling. And God, I just completely lost my train of thought, man.
You're talking about the villain.
Yeah, I know. There's some other things I was going to say about him, and I can't remember what they were now. But he's oh, I know what it was. Okay, so one of the coolest things in it is that he talks about the ghosts as like they feel like real people, or like they were people, and obviously now they're not, but like we get more about who they are and what they're like, and they're like raw emotion.
Okay.
Which is...
They're like the essence of that person.
Yeah, which is a really interesting idea. And so like whatever was like the prevailing emotion that they had either when they died or just, throughout their life is kind of what drives them now. So you have like really jealous ghosts, or you have ghosts that want revenge for something, or whatever it is.
That seems inherent in that movie.
Yeah,
I'd never really thought about it that way.
Me neither, but it seems to be there. Yeah,
I'm a cab driver. It's my only emotion.
Yeah, it's all I do. No, it's really cool. But he says that he's able to like talk to the ghosts and hear what they're saying in the like other plane that they're on. And he says that the ghosts are scared of the Ghostbusters, and that they talk about the Ghostbusters like we would talk about ghosts around a campfire.
Oh, that's cool.
And I love that.
No, that's really cool.
That's a really cool idea. What I was going to say a minute ago is, unlike 2, like I said, the Ghostbusters are more successful, but there are, like, it's sort of like Spider-Man, where there are camps of people that love them and camps of people that hate them, and some people think that it's all a sham, and, like, it's a thing that the mayor is doing for political points.
I mean, that's more believable than what we did in 2.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. But then there are still, plenty of calls, and so they're making money, and, but
all publicity is good publicity.
I was really surprised by the end of it by how desperate I was to get to read more of that. And, like, it's just really sad that it didn't happen, yeah. And I mean, like,
interesting.
I like Burnham's Ghostbusters. This would have been more my thing.
It sounds like it would have been more my thing.
I think. Because, I mean, like you say, he's writing a little bit more of a comedy book. I mean, he does obviously he likes the occult stuff.
Oh, yeah,
he's
no,
great at that. I don't want to throw him under the
bus.
No. I like his stuff.
We both like his run. At some point we've talked about doing that, because I got the hardcover.
This is punchier and splashier, and it's just more my thing.
Interesting.
I'm
excited to read.
I'll show you those when I get them.
Yeah.
Why don't you talk some more about Wonder Woman?
All right. So the next thing I will do is I'm going to talk about... So I have Wonder Woman by Greg Rucka, Volume 1. This is his run from back in the mid-2000s.
Yeah.
It's
what we figured would be his only run.
Yeah, it's just before Infinite Crisis. His run ends with Infinite Crisis. And there's a whole thing about how it's unresolved. Because apparently his whole run is kind of building to her killing Max Lord, like Snap the Snack. And then there's more to that story, but he never got to tell it. So,
and it's not like 52, he could just, or 52, it's not like Rebirth, he could just come back and finish it.
Yeah. So I'm not actually going to talk about his run. I've read some of it. It's very, like, West Wing with Wonder Woman.
Interesting.
It's great. It's kind of like the Christopher Priest run, where it assumes I don't necessarily love the character, and there's a reference for the character that's really interesting.
When you say West Wing, is it real bantery?
Not banter. It's the political side of Wonder Woman. This is Wonder Woman as a diplomat, and like. So
also not a lot of punches thrown.
No. Also not a lot of punches thrown. There are punches thrown, but I'm not really going to talk about that because I haven't read all of it. I'm going to talk about the first section of this book, which is which was originally released as a standalone graphic novel. So I'm just going to talk about that.
Oh, sure.
Which has one of the most provocative covers of all
I
time.
remember that cover. Yeah.
It's so here, look, you're better at language than I am. You tell me how to pronounce this. Hecatia?
Where we at?
Just the title.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Hecatia.
Yeah.
Okay. So the Hecatia is.
Or would it be Hecatia? I think it's.
That's
I think it's
how I
Hecatia.
read it as Hecatia.
Yeah.
The Hecatia is essentially like an ancient Greek bond. I don't know if this is real or if he made it up.
Well, if you think about all the female Greek names that we get in
That's true.
Themyscira.
Yeah. Hippolyta.
Yeah.
Hecatia. Okay. So the Hecatia is like this ancient Greek bond that basically puts two people entirely in each other's hands. We're like, so this girl comes from Wonder Woman.
Was that a Ross cover?
No.
No, I
It's
mean
J.G. Jones.
I mean that really provocative.
Oh,
cover you showed
yeah,
us.
I
Is
think
that
so.
an
It looks like an Alex
Is that
Ross
an Alex
cover.
Ross thing? That looks like Alex Ross to me, but it's not telling me, so I don't know. Anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
So this woman comes to Wonder Woman, and she invokes this ancient ritual, which makes Wonder Woman her bodyguard. Like Wonder Woman has to protect her like forever, like until one of them dies.
If you're a bad person, you got tired of that job. That other person should be really scared because.
And Wonder Woman accepts this because it's like this super elaborate ritual, and she can't lie, but she doesn't have to tell Wonder Woman what happened, and Wonder Woman does not ask. If she wants to tell her, she can. And then Batman comes. This is kind of a Batman versus Wonder Woman thing, as the cover suggests.
Oh, cool.
So Batman comes looking for this girl. This girl murdered a number of people. And the girl finally explains to Wonder Woman what it is. And it should feel obvious. Like, when I tell you that a woman came to Wonder Woman for protection, and Batman's hunting her, but there's a little bit more going on, it's almost exactly what you think it is. But it didn't feel that way. It felt really riveting, where I was like, it's not exactly the origin I thought, but it's not super far from what I would think. But I don't know. It worked better than I feel like it should. It's one of those things where, like, I feel like it's the exact, almost obvious origin, but it's told really well, so it doesn't matter.
Okay.
I guess the big difference is it's not her past; it's her sister's past. But so she has this whole thing where she murdered all these people, and I'm not really gonna explain more than that. This should be a just constantly reprinted graphic novel. This should just be a standard.
Even without the rest of the run.
Yeah. It's unfortunate that it's only in this. I mean, it was printed originally, but I don't think it's kept in circulation. It should be kept in circulation. It should be one of Wonder Woman's just defining, just like, this story is just always in print. It should be like a Killing Joke. It's really unfortunate it's not. It's really good. It's like 60 pages, like maybe. Like it might be a little bit more, but it can't be less. But it's not that much. Maybe it's more than 60 pages. Now I'm flipping through it. It's this much. It's this much of a book.
Yeah.
It's really good. It's Rucka.
Oh, so that would be like one of those pristine format things.
Yeah. I wish that was kept in constant circulation. Like, that should be like a Wonder Woman book you can just hand people.
Yeah.
It should just exist. It should just always exist. It should always be in bookstores. It should be like Year One. It should be like, Killing Joke. It should just be one of those things that's just always there. If they have any Wonder Woman books, they should have that. It's unfortunate it's not. It's really good.
I'll make sure to read that then.
It's a Greek tragedy.
Yeah.
Which, it's Wonder Woman, so that makes sense.
That makes sense, yeah.
But it's a Greek tragedy. It's wonderful. If you don't read any other Wonder Woman, I think that's a good, like, just little thing you can read. But yeah. So I recommend that quite a bit.
Now, I never thought of this before. It's like, when DC and Marvel were willing to cross, why didn't we do Wonder Woman and Elektra? It's like right there, right?
Oh yeah, because they're both Greek.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're
like cross from
old
Storm.
Greek, new Greek, like, yeah. Which makes sense in its way.
Yeah.
But, Okay, so Eric, I'm going to talk a little bit about Bendis' Man of Steel, which you should read.
I would like to.
I think you'll like this
like
a lot. Obviously, you love Bendis.
I do.
You and I had our reservations about the premise of this book, and I still do. And
the kind of been there, done there, of that nature of it.
The constantly reinventing retroactively what it was that destroyed Krypton.
And actually, it's the first time anyone's ever done it.
Yeah, I'm a little bit tired of learning that it wasn't what I thought it was this other thing. I'm not surprised by that anymore. I said, well, I thought it was this other thing, but it's actually this other thing. All right, but while I'm reading it, it's pretty wonderfully dramatic. It's just not what I wanted, really. However, tonally, it's absolutely what I want.
Okay.
This is going back to classic Superman in the same way that you and I feel like Tom King is doing our Batman.
Okay.
And that's just wonderful. This Superman stops and thinks about things and wonders if he's doing the right thing and is really introspective. And there's a moment in the first or second issue where he stops for like half a page while he's flying, just to internal monologue about how he overstepped and went too far in how he treated somebody just talking to them on the ground because of his stature, because he's Superman, and he's worried that sometimes because of his reputation and who he is, that he takes advantage of that. I haven't seen Superman do that in a long time, and that really excites me. I like the Superman that is human and could go too far and screw up, but is so careful about it that he doesn't. Being Superman should be hard.
Yeah.
And people don't like Superman because they think it's easy. What about that is easy?
Mm-hmm.
What about having those powers and making sure that you
because
don't
people
take
only
advantage
think
of the world? Yeah, that's all. That's all.
They think of is, oh, how can Superman be dramatic? All he does is have to punch somebody and they lose.
Yeah, being Superman is hard, and this Superman is very hard, and and that's kind of what the whole book's about. And getting into the first issue of Superman, which I'll also talk about a little bit.
Okay.
This is just an extension of Man of Steel. I don't think Man of Steel gets enough done, and I feel like Superman you could pretty easily read without Man of Steel, because Man of Steel doesn't I've got more questions than answers by the end of it. I know that there is this guy that probably destroyed Krypton. Probably. We still don't even know if that's true by the end. He keeps saying that. It would be too coincidental if he didn't, but we don't actually know that. There are no records on Krypton of him or his species. We don't know why that is by the end. We don't know anything except his motivations, which I'll get into in a second. But the whole book is in getting into the first issue of Superman, and I'm sure the next issue is already out, and I think action's already started, and I haven't read that yet, but I'm going to get those. I just haven't been to the store. But it's all about how some people feel like Superman isn't, including John Jones, which is really interesting. John Jones has a speech where he basically tells Superman that he should rule the world, and I'm like, what? And I don't know if I'm supposed to be suspicious of him, or if it's just how Martian Manhunter feels about it, but he's like, humanity is not progressing the way it should, and our society should be better than it is, and we've stagnated, and we have not learned the lessons Superman has taught us, so maybe it's time for him to just lead us into the future. And at one point, he, in that speech, he comes out and says, maybe you should take over. And Superman just stops and says, take over? Like, did you actually just say that? And I'm a little bit suspicious of Martian Manhunter in that scene, but I think it's him. They also talk about how they have more in common now if this, I forget his name, but if this guy, it's a weird name, but if this alien guy actually destroyed Krypton, because Superman and Martian Manhunter always had the destruction of their worlds in common, but they were different things. One of them was natural, and or not, or at least not, some bad guy, some sadistic person doing it to them, and one of them was like a war, and now they have that in common because it's somebody who actually destroyed it, like a person who did it. If that actually happened, but I'm pretty sure it did. So the whole thing is about whether Superman is doing enough, and if it actually makes sense for him to just keep setting the example, or if he should lead us. And I don't know where Bendis is going with that, but the idea that people are making arguments to Superman that are compelling about that is really interesting. And I mean, like, he's resisting it really, really hard, but I'm wondering if that starts to become more compelling to him.
That sounds like he gets Superman as much as he gets Spider-Man.
He absolutely does. Yeah, no, it's great. It was a perfect fit.
That's
and remember, I said I was hoping he would get it.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
It seemed like it's the perfect fit. The big thing that kind of shakes up Superman's world at the beginning of this is that guy suddenly out of nowhere shows back up, has figured out that there are Kryptonians on Earth, and he goes to the Fortress of Solitude and he destroys it. And he kills Kandor.
Oh.
And Superman and Supergirl are just, like, beside themselves with grief.
Well, I mean, they won't do anything with it.
Well, okay, so this made me think of another potential crossover, okay? Because they were talking about how they were just keeping Kandor until they figured out some safe way to regrow them. I was like, Ant-Man crossover. That's what we need. We need Ant-Man to show up.
Well, I mean, they have the Atom.
I know, I don't know why they can't do that. Maybe
He's gone in there and hung out with them before. At least he does in, I think, DK3.
Right, but does the Atom have the ability to make other things grow and get small? Like Ant-Man does?
I don't
in
know.
the Ant-Man movie? That's what I'm saying.
I'm also not sure if Ant-Man could do that in the comics.
In the comics, yeah. But if you could do that, then they have no problem. Like, Marvel Cinematic Universe would have no problem dealing with this. That is not a problem in that world. Anyways, at the same time, you have elderly, not dead Jor-El showing up, trying to get... Not dead. And so, there was an arc that Jurgens did, I think it was Jurgens, before this.
That was when everyone thought the bad guy was Jor-El.
Yeah, apparently he was. That's the only explanation for Jor-El being around in this.
I thought it was
No, that's a different thing.
Oh, okay.
That's a different thing.
Okay.
No, Mixoplick was you're conflating stories. Mixoplick was other Clark Kent.
Oh.
When we thought when there were two Clark Kents running around, that was other Clark Kent.
Okay.
Or there was one Clark Kent in Superman who was not Clark Kent.
Okay.
It was a whole thing.
Okay.
I thought Bendis was going to forget everything.
Because he does that.
Because he does that, and I'm perplexed because I feel like there were people that were asking me, because I haven't read this yet, what I thought of the things he was ignoring. I'm not sure what he's ignoring.
Were you caught up on Superman before you
I
read that?
was not.
Okay.
So that's the thing there. So I'll go back and catch up. I just haven't, and this has been a while, and I wanted to get it finished. I wasn't liking it. Yeah, I was for a while, and then we did the Mixoplick thing, and we merged universes, and it was dumb, and I didn't like it. But anyway, he does channel Jurgens a little bit too much in the way he writes the parents and John. I think some of that is a little melodramatic and a little bit campy. Campy's not the right word. Cheesy, sappy.
That's unfortunate because he has kids. Like he's. I'm trying to think of Bendis writing children, and I can't.
It's more the way the parents talk to John. I think John's okay. I think the way that Lois and Clark talk to John is somewhat problematic.
Okay.
I also don't really know why we made that a subplot. We stretch it too far, and we keep repeating. He's channeling Tom King a little bit in his repetition. He throughout this has got in the background this thing that happened before, where we're told that Clark and Lois are like alienated, almost separated, but they're not. It's just that she's left. I'm going to give this away. It's a spoiler, but it shouldn't be that big of a spoiler. Mm-hmm. They make it a reveal. I don't know why it's a reveal. I don't know why it takes so long for us to get to know this. It seems like he just had a hard time figuring out where to put it. So instead of giving it to us at the beginning or in the middle somewhere, it's just staggered throughout. The conversation that he has with Jor-El, that he and Jor-El and Lois have about... So Jor-El basically wants to be Doctor Who, the Doctor from Doctor Who, and take John gallivanting around the universe and teach him things about the
That's a good way to get rid of that kid.
Yeah, and...
Because I know a lot of people don't like Superman's kid.
Well, I don't know if we're going to use that to get rid of him entirely, though, because I'm pretty sure Super Sons is still going.
Yeah.
Or is it? I don't know.
I don't know.
People like that book. But
yeah,
anyway.
People do like that book.
So, and I like that book. But when I read of it, I read the first arc. It was really good. I just haven't read any more past that.
I think people like John, but weirdly don't like that Superman has a kid.
Yeah. Isn't that strange?
Yeah. Which, I mean, I guess that's fair. I like Damian before he died. Even after that. I like Damian. I like Batman as a kid running around.
I'm the opposite. I mean, I don't love the Batman as a kid, but I much more don't love Damian. I'll put my foot down on that right now. But anyway, just this, like, really slog of this is Bendis, but it's just this slog of a conversation that never ends, where they're arguing about whether or not Jor-El can take John up in space and whether John should be able to choose this for himself, and it goes between several issues, and that was irritating. And at the end, they finally kind of have a compromise, and Lois goes with him, and I just don't know why we treated that like a reveal. Like, we don't know why they go into space, or why Lois is not around. And
oh, so we got rid of. I guess people don't like that he's married too. That is also a thing.
You're treating it like that's gonna stick for any amount of time, though. Like the very first issue, he's out looking for them. Like I don't know if that's gonna be an arc or if it's gonna be a long time, or who knows. You're assuming that he got rid of them. I don't think that's what's going on.
That sounds like him getting rid of them for at least a period of time.
I don't know, though.
That sounds like a way to write them out for a bit.
Right, but he's immediately out trying to find them.
Sure. But it's been, be 60 issues.
And some time has passed. That's true, but I didn't immediately assume that.
Okay.
I just want to say that, because I've read it, I'm not assuming.
Okay, and I have not read it, I'm just...
That may be true. I would have never made that leap.
Okay.
But anyway. I'm liking the style and I'm going to say pacing. The pacing is fine. We didn't get enough done in that first mini, but it wasn't because the story's not paced well. It's just because it's weird, but I don't know already at the end. I guess we were building a mystery that I didn't realize was a mystery. I guess is the thing there. It's weird. I like the relationships and the tone of the thing and the flavor of it a lot more than I'm liking the actual story, but it's intriguing enough.
That all sounds like Bendis.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But yeah, so I'm definitely recommending this, and it's certainly the best Superman's been in since Rebirth. I liked it a lot at the beginning, but this is head and shoulders above it. I also wish we had 52 Supergirl and not current Supergirl. It's weird. She's written dialogue-wise more like TV Supergirl, but she's still the impulsive, wants to punch everything Supergirl. They just don't mix. Just give me the Supergirl you want to be writing, you know? Mm-hmm. It's irritating. But anyway. Okay, you have one more woman thing to talk about.
So this is volumes 1 through 4 of Rebirth Wonder Woman, which is all of Rucka's run, which is 25 issues.
I gotta get back and finish that. I read the first, I think arc and a half.
Well, I mean, that's difficult because they jump back and forth.
Well, I know, but both of them.
Yeah. So...
What I'm saying is, I was on it for 7 or 8 months and it was double shipping.
Yeah.
So that would have been like an arc and a half, is what I'm saying. But for each of them. You see what I'm saying?
No, it would have been, because they're 6-issue arcs. So, 7 months, I guess you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're on it for a year. Okay. Sorry, I'm still thinking in normal comic terms, yes.
No, you can't do that. It was double shipping.
Yeah.
He was telling 2 stories simultaneously.
Yeah.
I read a story
2
and a half
arcs
for
and
both
2
of
halves.
those. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You read 3 stories.
Sure.
So here's the thing. So what's interesting is, when I've read all of it, shipping them like that
really
made
loud.
sense because they inform each other.
Yeah.
And I think it would have been a really interesting way to read. Because there's things that I know from stories. I'm like, this would have been an interesting way to be given information.
Yeah.
It would have been really interesting. So what you have is, you have The Lies and the Truth, which is Volume 1 and Volume 3, which is essentially one story. And you have Year 1, which is Rucka's Wonder Woman origin story. And you have Godwatch, which fills in the time between Year 1 and the current day. But then we do this weird thing that I don't like, where the last issue of this trade takes place moments after the end of the Truth. But then there's another issue in the Truth arc, or in this trade, that takes place in between periods of time in the last issue of this. I didn't care for that. So
because it's impossible to decide what order to read it.
Yeah, and I made a huge mistake because I wanted to, because I knew that I'd rewatched the movie and I'd read Earth 1. I wanted to, at the very least, read the origin stuff. And I thought Year 1 was just kind of like half of the origin, and the other half was going to be this Godwatch thing. So I start reading Godwatch, I get the last issue, and I go, oh no, I've made a grave error. I made a mistake. Because the last issue of Godwatch takes place after the Truth. So do read them in the trade release order. So, The Lies is good. I bought this right around the time the movie came out, right after the movie. It must have been after the movie. Because, like, I'm probably going to be in the Wonder Woman mood. So I'll buy this. And I read the Rebirth, Wonder Woman Rebirth.
Yeah.
And that was good. It's a long way around to just get rid of the Brian Azzarello stuff. And if I have one complaint
That's what
about
it felt
this,
like to me even halfway through it.
yeah, he does some things with it that like makes a lot of that make sense, and it's also very clear to me that he didn't know he was leaving. He leaves because he can't keep up with double shipping. I feel like he still wants to keep writing it. If that book had gone,
really?
Yeah, it ends. It's not like there's nothing left, but he sets things up where I'm like, oh, you wanted to keep going. That's unfortunate.
Weird. There's more of an out for you with what he was doing and nobody else if he wanted to stay on but he couldn't deal with double shipping. Because he was the only, and I realize that they were interconnected, but he had the only book that was telling two stories simultaneously. All you have to do is replace him on half the issues.
That's true. That's true.
They could have just had somebody else come in and tell one story and have him just go once a month. They wouldn't have had to stop double shipping.
Yeah, have someone else do like back in time-ish stories or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. It's unfortunate. So
it's the only book that could have done that.
All right. So the big highlights. First of all, there's some wonderful comic booky stuff that you'll never get in movies. You'll never get in movies. That we got a little bit in the animated series. There's this wonderful scene that I don't know why. Like, it happens all the time in comics. There's something just delightful about it.
What do you mean when you say animated series?
Like just the DC AU.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah.
We get
Like
scenes like
Justice
this
League
in like Justice League. There's a point in Godwatch where Wonder Woman is up for one of those things where you auction yourself off for a date.
Yeah.
And there's a bidding contest between Bruce Wayne and Lex Luthor. Where, like, they keep both and I just thought that was delightful. There's a lot of like little things like that where I'm just like, I'm really glad this is in the DC universe. Like, that's fun. There is a thing at the end of Godwatch that I'm not a fan of that I'll talk about. So the end of Godwatch is part of is like a short story that's the first time Batman and Wonder Woman meet. Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman meet.
Yeah.
It's really good story into the last scene. Like, maybe even the last panel. So, Greg Rucka does this interesting thing with Wonder Woman where, which is something that's don't actually in both of these. That's interesting because the movie doesn't deal with it at all. Really, it hand waves it away. They deal with the fact that why would she speak English?
Yeah.
She learns English. She picks things up quickly, and so by the end of year one, she speaks it pretty good.
Well, yeah, she's a little clipped at the beginning, right?
I mean, at the beginning of year one, it's weird because we're reading her dialogue, but like, he does this thing where like, the difference is in the font, where like she speaks and someone responds to her and says, "I know what you're saying," and she says, "I know what you're saying."
That's right.
So like, and then sometimes we get her kind of clipped English as it moves forward.
That's what I was remembering. Yeah.
So, where's I going with all this? Oh, okay. So.
Last page.
But so he has this conceit, which is that if you hold the lasso and it's like the Pocahontas like listen with your heart thing. Like, if we're all holding this lasso, we can communicate in some form or fashion.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Okay, so Wonder Woman, Superman, and Batman all hold this thing so they can talk to each other, and they say that like they see each other completely. And she flies off and. Rucka writes Batman and Superman really well, which I guess makes sense because he's written both those characters, but like just bantering.
Yeah.
Especially early Batman and Superman. It's really fun. Superman comes in, like Batman's just like watching, because Wonder Woman's in a military base at this point, and Batman's just sitting there like watching. And Superman comes up, and Batman's immediately annoyed that he's there. And he's like, well, you couldn't have landed anywhere else. Like, you'd land right here. He's like, well, do you mind if I hang out with you and like watch? He's like, yeah, I do. Like, Batman's just real. And Superman goes, well, wouldn't that be lonely? And Batman says, I'm never alone. I'm never lonely. It's really fun. So anyways, so they all hold and they have this thing, and Batman has this like affect about him. Superman's like, what's wrong? And he goes, well, you and I just saw like her completely, and she saw us completely, and we have a lot of catching up to do.
And you don't like that?
Batman has a lot of catching up to do. Superman does not have a lot of catching up to do.
To Wonder Woman.
Yeah, no. That felt weird. I mean, his characterization of Wonder Woman is interesting in that she is simultaneously...
Well, and then I'm thinking about where we are in Superman at that point, and I don't know if that's pre or post the merge.
If it's 52 Superman, that's fine.
Well, no, it can't be, though. Because 52 Superman's dead.
Right, but this is a flashback. This is the first time they all meet. This is before Justice League.
Okay, well then no, it probably works.
If it's 52 Superman, that's fine.
It has to be. Well, no. Here's the problem, though. If it's after the merger, that merges it for all time.
Yeah. If it's
they
normal,
wouldn't remember it that way.
I have an issue with it if it's normal Superman.
Like, Rebirth changed everybody's memories. It has, like, a Angel Season 5 thing with Connor, right? Except with everything. Where they all remember Death of Superman now and stuff. Just all the things that they wanted to keep
assuming
in
this
canon.
is normal Superman, I take issue.
Yeah.
I take issue.
No, that's fair.
That feels like that thing I hate where, like, you cut someone down to build someone up. I don't need that.
Right.
Batman should say, I have a lot of catching up to do.
Sure.
So the big highlights throughout all of this is first of all of the different versions of Wonder Woman's origin that I've experienced, which is Earth
Within,
1,
2 weeks
the
time.
film, the animated film, and this is my favorite. The only major one left I have to read is the George Perez stuff, which I intend to do, and also the 15 Wonder Woman origin stories we put out right for the movie, because that's apparently the only story anyone can tell.
Yeah. There were a lot of those.
This is really good. And the issues I have with the ending being too quick, because I feel like the last issue is just and it's over, is resolved by the rest of this, because it's part of the piece of the run. I think it mostly works. I think you could hand people this at a year one, but it works better within the confines of the entire run. So, I loved this. I thought this was great. This is my favorite version of the Wonder Woman origin. I really like his take on Wonder Woman of just simultaneously being a strong warrior and also kind of a naive, just sees the best in everyone and everything, but also not easily taken advantage of. It's very hard to exactly explain what Wonder Woman is, but she's really interesting. And interesting to see how much she's kind of changed from year one to present day, because he's not writing the same character.
Yeah. Which is got to be interesting going back and forth.
Year one is drawn by Nicola Scott, who is great.
Yep.
Always. I think Liam Sharp does The Truth and the Lies. Yes, Liam Sharp does The Truth and the Lies. I like her. Of the three artists, she's probably my least favorite. I assume that it's a girl.
Liam's not a girl name. I've never heard a girl named Liam
Is it
before.
Liam? Is it possible? I just assumed, because the other two artists were girls, I just assumed that this one was also a girl.
I don't think so, but I don't know.
Sure.
I've not looked that person up. But I've never heard of a girl named Liam.
No, that's fair. I just assumed it was a girl. Liam Sharp is my least favorite of the three artists, because there was a different artist on Godwatch. This stuff is really good, and my biggest takeaway is I really like Cheetah, and I think Cheetah's really
Well, who's the artist that did all that Cheetah stuff? Because
Really?
That's
Really? Yep.
And that's your least favorite? 'Cause
Of the three. I like all three of them.
Man, some of that Cheetah stuff was dynamite, I thought.
No, it is. It's really good, just of the three. So...
Maybe it's kind of inconsistent. Because I'm looking back at this, and I'm like, some of this I don't really care for.
Yeah.
Weird.
I love Cheetah now.
Yeah.
If I go read some other Cheetah and she's like this, because
oh, now I get it.
Because I don't want to be like that, right? I don't want to read one story and be like, I totally get what Cheetah is. If this is what Cheetah is, she's a great villain. There's a point at the end of that book, or is it at the end of this book, because they intersect? There's a point that is haunting, where the whole thing is that Cheetah was forced into being Cheetah. She didn't want to be Cheetah.
Yeah.
And we undo that here at the beginning of The Lies. And then she redoes it. Because secretly she kind of wants it. She comes up with excuses and reasons she's helping Wonder Woman, but she kind of actually wants to be Cheetah.
That's cool.
And it's so well done, and it's so tragic. She's great. I really like her. And I love the design. I love across all of these, the way we do Cheetah is it's not the sexy cat girl thing. It's just kind of like a cat person. Like, I mean, it's still a girl, but you know what I mean? It's not...
It doesn't look like she's wearing a cat suit with, like, a tail coming out the bag.
Well, no, it doesn't look like she's just an orange, really hot woman.
Right.
She looks like a cat person. Where most of my scenes of Cheetah...
What I'm saying is I think we've drawn it that way a lot, where it looks like it could be a suit. Like, it's not a suit, but it could just be a skin-tight suit.
Yeah. And she's just got spots on her stuff. Like, and she's got the long flowing hair. Like, she looks like Orange Poison Ivy a lot of times. Where she's just like this sexy lady. I really like how animalistic she is here.
You know what this reminds me of? Just this art?
No.
Spawn the Dark Ages.
Oh, okay.
Like a lot.
It looks like Thor to me.
On this page especially.
Yeah, with the dogs.
Like a lot.
With Phobos and Lobo. Nope. The Panic and Terror. Whatever their real names are.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
So, it's weird, because in some ways it feels like it's just a long way around to undoing the Azraella stuff. On the other hand, it feels like he really has a story to tell.
Yeah.
What he does with Ares is fascinating. So, this also has like a big secret, like you never knew this kind of a thing, which is the reason Paradise Island exists.
Oh.
Which is that the cycle of war, the fact that war is unending and we will never grow and never learn and never get better, drives Ares mad. And he willingly, like, and this goes, oh yeah, I was going to talk about the bondage stuff and that. I don't know how to read the bondage stuff in Earth 1. I'm sure that Grant Morrison did a lot of research into bondage, and that's great. I don't know what he's doing with it, other than that's a thing associated with Wonder Woman. It's very strange. I don't...
You're not ready to read it.
I feel like I need to be academically, like, read up on it to have a take. To have a take that I don't feel like a child with. So this also kind of has some of that stuff where Ares willingly submitted himself to Aphrodite. I think it's Aphrodite. And was sealed beneath the island, and the whole purpose of Paradise Island is to keep him there. And so the big thing is...
That's cool.
Yeah. Because they're a civilization without war. They were designed to keep war away.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
They bury it, but it's always there.
Yeah.
It's buried. Yeah, no, that's really cool.
And it's a really human version of Ares that I really liked. And we even... So the villains for the piece are kind of Cheetah, Veronica Cale, who is a character that was created by Rucka in his first run, and then Phobos and... It's Phobos and... I want to say Lobos, but I want to be wrong.
I don't know.
So those are Terra and Pack. They are Ares' sons. Their whole motivation is to get their father... is to go get their father. And either unleash him or kill him and take his place. That comes up multiple times. Like, every time it comes up, it goes, they're coming here to free me or kill me. Like, just every time we talk about their plan, it's one of the two. We don't know which, but they're going to do one of them. And so they have this long game to try and get Wonder Woman back to Paradise Island. The big reveal is that Wonder Woman's never gone back to Paradise Island. Ever. And she's told when she leaves, you can never come back. Which I think is a pretty common thing with her origin.
Yeah, I thought so.
And she just always goes back. Paradise Island...
I don't think we did that in the movie, though.
Dude, I don't know. I can't remember if they tell her that she can't come back or not.
I don't remember. Anyway.
But the reason that she can't come back is because it's a parallel dimension. It's like a pocket dimension kind of thing.
Cool.
It's physically not on Earth.
That's awesome. That makes so much sense.
Yeah.
Especially with Greek mythology, like the idea that you have what seem like celestial planes, but rather than there being like
Olympus
out in space or something, it's yeah. And
you can get there. Like there's a place that you can go to get there, but it's not.
Asgard is another dimension.
Yeah. So, and there's a whole thing with the gods. I really like how he uses the gods, which she refers to as her patrons. And like when Steve Trevor crashes, the explanation for how Steve Trevor got there is, well, the gods must be doing this. This is not a thing that we can just, like, it has to be for a reason. Like, everything's for a reason because the gods are manipulating all of it.
Yeah.
He can't just have accidentally gotten here. It has to be on purpose. one of the interesting things about year one, well, I'll talk about the bolts and bracelets. So the bolts and bracelets in this, the explanation is this is the weapon of man, so you have to be able to deal with it. Sure. Which is a good. So they just take his gun and start shooting at people. And then the jet is that they put like retroreflective panels on Steve's jet.
Which is what I would do.
Yeah,
with it.
yeah.
I like that idea a lot. Because I asked you if anybody ever did that. You're like, well, that's what Rucka does.
Yep. That's what Rucka does. And they do this. I really like his Steve Trevor. His Steve Trevor is like a real. It's the first time I ever cared about that character. Well, that's not true because I liked him in the movie. But I really like his Steve Trevor because we see the beginning of the relationship, and then in The Lies and the Truth, we see them get back together, and they clearly end up falling out at some point. Presumably somewhere in 52. Or maybe even before that, because 52 doesn't reboot. It just starts at a place.
Right, yeah.
But so...
it might have had something to do with that other Justice League team he was on.
Yeah. So, one of the things that's really interesting about year one is that it doesn't give you the moments you assume will be there. It kind of assumes you know them, or you can fill in the gap. So, like, we have a thing with the bolts and bracelets, and we just have one panel of Diana going like this. We don't do the scene where she... wows everyone. It just kind of assumes you know what she did.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of points like that, which was really nice in an origin retelling of like, look, you know what happens in this scene. Here's the one panel that's going to give you kind of what that scene is. I really like that because it felt like it gave him time to actually do other things.
Sure, yeah.
And explore the ideas that they wanted to explore.
But you didn't feel like he was leaving out character motivation stuff.
No, because it's just scenes. It's just sequences.
That's always my problem with people saying, like, well, we've seen Batman's origin, you should never show it ever again. And I'm like, yeah, but... Like, I get not spending a lot of time on it, but to like... We went too far the other way with Spider-Man Homecoming, where it's like, we didn't even talk about Uncle Ben's death.
Yep.
That's really weird.
The woman on Godwatch, Bilquis Evely is my favorite of the four artists.
Okay.
She has this style that looks like a modern version of like what old Wonder Woman comics look like. There's a roundness to it, and there's just
cool.
There's something really pure about it. So Terror and Panic contact Veronica Cale and was like, you have to get Wonder Woman to also. After the Wonder Woman movie, I was looking at something with Wonder Woman characters, and there was Dr. Cyber. I was like, this should be the villain for the next Wonder Woman. Dr. Cyber's in this.
That's awesome.
She's like an AI. It's really interesting. But so Veronica Cale, and she works with Veronica Cale.
Yeah, I like this stuff a lot, man.
Right? It's really pretty.
And it's inconsistent in the right way, where like sometimes she gets super detailed on faces and stuff. It's just whatever makes sense for whatever she's drawing. Like it looks like it could be a couple of different artists.
So I looked up what else she's done.
Yeah.
The other thing she's done, she did a Shaft comic.
What?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I have to read that. But so Veronica Cale kind of fails Terror and Panic, and so they take her daughter's face. No, they take her daughter's face in the first place and say, you do this and we'll give it, and it's one of those tricky wording things where it's like,
okay,
if you do this, we won't not give her face back. It's like she does it, and they're like, well, we didn't say when, and also you didn't actually find out we're Paradise Island, so that doesn't really count. And so it's just this horrifying thing of through the years watching her daughter grow up, and she has no face and she can't talk, and like
that's horrifying.
Yeah. So I've talked quite a bit about these. These are great. I highly recommend these to people, especially if, like me, you're not really a Wonder Woman person. You never really read Wonder Woman. I think these are really good. I highly recommend them. That's I think I touched on most everything I have to say about that.
It sounds pretty dense. Sounds like there's plenty to talk about.
There's a lot. It's two different timeline strands, and like they're all kind of incorporated, and like it's really good. And it's really sad for me that Rucka's gone, because I want to know what he was going to do with Cheetah after this. And Veronica Cale, like he leaves her on the table. It's disappointing.
Real quick, I want to backtrack before we finish and mention something I forgot to talk about with Man of Steel, which is not super important now that we're off of that. But I was talking about the bad guy whose name is Rogol Zar. That's his name. And I was gonna mention his motivation, and then I forgot to mention.
Oh yeah,
she's not from Krypton. We don't know where he's from.
Okay.
We do remember I said the big mystery is Krypton had nothing on him. and he's the guy that destroys Krypton. So the idea is he's got a little bit of a Thanos, like a movie Thanos thing, where he does what no one else is willing to do, and he gets rid of threats. He's like a combination of like movie Thanos and who am I thinking of? I don't know, like Hydra in a Winter Soldier, where like he gets rid of threats before they're threats.
Okay.
And he sees Krypton as the biggest danger to the universe because of their obsession with science. And whenever any race gets too into the sciences, and they start spreading out to the rest of the galaxy, they might pretend like they're altruistic and like they're not despotic, but they end up but they end up being empires. And he's afraid that Krypton's going to be an empire, and so he destroys Krypton before it has any chance at becoming an empire. And he goes to the Guardians of the Universe, who of course created the Green Lanterns, and tries to get them to go along with this, and they of course won't do it. But he ends up going to Krypton and apparently, allegedly destroys it. But we're not for sure if that's what's going on. So the reason that Kandor gets destroyed is because he's trying to get rid of any last remnant of Krypton, and if Earth has any Kryptonian anything on it, it's as bad as if there was Krypton.
That seems like a stretch.
Yeah. But like, I guess the idea is that Earth could become like Krypton or something.
Sure.
He's a Bendis villain. Like, he's not super compelling yet. He's a little generic.
That's my biggest fear about him writing Superman.
Yeah, and I think inventing new Superman villains is already really hard. And he's done the conventional wisdom thing, which is create someone that can match Superman physically instead of giving him a human threat or a more terrestrial threat, or a more I don't know. I guess just like a human type threat, where it's cerebral as opposed to physical.
Why isn't that just Brainiac? Why isn't that just a new Brainiac? Just a rebooted new version of Brainiac.
Well, because we've had Brainiac recently. I mean, you have
have we? Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't read any of that stuff.
Yeah, sure, but I don't know. He might get really interesting as it goes along, but
based on Bendis' track record, not sure.
Yeah, I mean, Ryan Bendis, I don't know if I would go with a new big scary villain or whatever. But anyway, well, that's gonna do it for the Vault. I know this went a long time, but we had a whole bunch of stuff to talk about, and we knew Vault was gonna be long this time. So anyway,
I read a lot.
Yep, and I read more than normal, but not a ton.
Yeah.
But anyway, thanks a lot for watching, folks. We sure appreciate it. Come along with us, if you will, on the Omnibus. If you're watching the playlist, the next thing we're going to do is a little bit of spoiler talk for Ant-Man and the Wasp, and then we're going to go on to Primetime Crisis and talk about the second season of Luke Cage, which we just finished. So look forward to all that and lots more. In the meantime, thanks for watching. I'm Captain Logan.
All right.
See you, folks.